Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating and honestly often entirely misunderstood world of secret military technologies. We are going to separate the wild internet myths from verified government reality. We'll look at the very real, very legal mechanisms the government actually uses to suppress certain inventions, and we'll explore this incredibly intense balancing act between national security and open scientific innovation.
Okay, so let's just address the elephant in the room right off the bat. We've all heard the rumors, right? You know the stories about suppressed perpetual motion machines, or zero-point energy extractors, or, cars that run on tap water. But what's the actual documented truth here? Is the government really hiding revolutionary ideas in some dark underground vault somewhere?
Well, let's establish a really critical distinction right away. We absolutely have to separate pseudoscientific forbidden tech from the very real, legally sanctioned withholding of classified science. You see, forbidden tech narratives usually involve claims that just completely violate the fundamental laws of physics, like thermodynamics, and they lack any peer-reviewed evidence. But classified science? That is built on verifiable, known physics. It involves technologies with clear strategic military applications where the state actively steps in to contain information that poses a measurable threat if it got out. The suppression here isn't to, protect big industry monopolies. It is strictly to maintain a tactical edge. So how does the government actually pull this off?
Section 1. The Invention Secrecy Act, the mechanism of technological containment.
The framework that governs all this scientific secrecy in the United States isn't some shadowy backroom conspiracy. It's actually a highly structured, codified mechanism. And its roots go way back to 1917, right near the end of World War I, when Congress first authorized withholding patents that might somehow aid the enemy. Now that lapsed, but it was quickly revived in 1940 as World War II was looming. But the really crucial shift, that happened in 1951. That's when Congress transformed those temporary emergency wartime measures into a permanent peacetime authority called the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951. This law literally empowers defense agencies to review patent applications and force them into classification under secrecy orders if going public would be detrimental to national security.
To really wrap your head around the sheer scale of this modern containment, consider this absolutely staggering data point. At the end of fiscal year 2025, there were exactly 6,543 active patent secrecy orders. Over 6,000! And listen, this is not some dormant, forgotten system. The data shows a really sharp spike recently. There were 356 brand new secrecy orders imposed in fiscal year 2024 alone. This kind of quantitative surge tells us there's a rapid governmental mobilization happening right now to lock down technological advantages across some seriously key competitive domains.
Section 2. What gets hidden? From radar to aerospace propulsion. This brings us to a super intriguing question. What exactly are they hiding? Well, when we look at declassified patent security review lists from 1971 and 2009, it's wild how consistent the government's priorities are. These lists essentially tell patent examiners exactly what to flag for defense review. And if you notice the shared categories, things like computers, missiles, and radar, the mandate consistently restricts what we call dual-use technologies. Those are innovations that have both civilian and military applications. So whether it's advanced cryptography, synthetic chemistry, or high-energy lasers, the focus is 100% on maintaining a performance advantage in both conventional and advanced conflict.
And guys, this builds into even more exotic territory. Through Freedom of Information Act requests, the public has gained access to reference documents from the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP. And just look at the research topics the government was funding. We're talking metamaterials for aerospace, invisibility cloaking, traversable wormholes, and advanced space propulsion based on vacuum engineering. I mean, wow. While some of this is obviously highly theoretical, it proves for sure that the government actively funds and classifies research into the absolute bleeding edge of physics just to guarantee no strategic surprise catches them off guard. But keeping all this advanced tech locked away, it has some really profound secondary effects.
Section 3. The cost of secrecy, the price of suppressing innovation.
There is some deep empirical evidence from World War II that really highlights the massive trade-offs of all this secrecy. During the war, over 11,000 patent applications were evaluated, and about 8,500 of them were placed under compulsory secrecy. When researchers analyzed the Google Books corpus to compare the frequency of brand new technological words, comparing those that appeared in secret patents versus non-secret ones, the data was crystal clear. The government's secrecy orders successfully kept sensitive terminology completely out of the public lexicon. It literally erased those words from the public conversation. The suppression worked exactly as intended to keep adversaries in the dark.
But here is the massive catch. That suppression comes with a compounding cost. State-imposed secrecy systematically severs the branches of our domestic innovation tree. The empirical data actually shows that patents subjected to just 5 years of secrecy experience an average 45% drop in follow-on citations. And since patent citations are exactly how we measure closely related follow-on inventions, a massive drop like that proves that hiding technology significantly chokes off downstream commercialization. It literally stalls broader technological progress.
And you know who gets hit the hardest by this chilling effect? Independent, non-contracting private inventors. Government contractors can usually still collaborate within their classified military academic bubbles. But a private inventor whose patent gets slapped with a secrecy order, they are legally barred from commercializing their own restricted intellectual property. It's an incredibly massive hurdle. And with modern laws like the America Invents Act, it gets worse. If an inventor publicly validates their tech just to secure funding before filing the patent, and then they get hit with a secrecy order, they're trapped. The info might already be out there for competitors to see, yet the domestic inventor remains legally paralyzed.
Section 4. The Modern Security Dilemma: Geopolitics and Open Science.
Today, the United States is basically in a pressure cooker. It's facing unprecedented pressure to balance its historical tradition of open scientific research against the very harsh realities of modern geopolitical competition. Adversarial strategies, like China's military-civil fusion, systematically target dual-use technologies, things like AI, quantum computing, and advanced aerospace, specifically by moving through civilian channels in universities. So, in response, the U.S. has aggressively accelerated its own containment efforts. We're seeing this with National Security Presidential Memorandum 33, which drops intense research security requirements onto federally funded institutions. And we see it in huge legislative moves like the BioSecure Act, enacted in the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, which actively bars federal agencies from buying equipment from designated foreign biotech companies of concern.
This all leads us to a fundamental shift in how our universities even operate anymore. As legal experts are pointing out right now, research security and export controls are actively converging. During the Cold War, the policy was always that fundamental research at universities would stay unrestricted and be broadly published. But those days, they're showing some serious cracks. What used to be entirely separate silos, export controls, grant management, and research security, are now deeply tangled together. Universities are suddenly being forced onto the front lines of defense, having to spin up rigorous partner due diligence and massive security frameworks just to maintain their funding and stay compliant.
So, let's wrap this explainer up with one absolutely vital question to chew on. We've seen that the government absolutely does hide verifiable strategic military technologies to protect national security, keeping thousands of active secrecy orders on the books. But we've also seen the stark empirical proof that this exact same secrecy stifles follow-on innovation, punishes independent inventors, and places a massive burden on our open academic institutions. So, in an era of lightning-fast, hyper-competitive global innovation, does locking away our greatest scientific breakthroughs secure our future, or does it fundamentally jeopardize it by slowing down the very progress we need to stay ahead? It is a complex balancing act, and there are absolutely no easy answers. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the iceberg of classified science. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.